actors are on the ground working undercover.
Il fallait aussi que j'apprenne à faire couler mes larmes de dans ma tête. Oh.
Je m'appelle Martha, j'ai 20 ans. Je viens de Belgique et je suis actrice. What is your dream film project?
My dream is to work in as many countries as possible, in as many languages as possible.
I'm writing on it.
One that I would make.
Working in Spain with Ken Loach doing Land and Freedom was possibly my dream film project.
My dream is to be in a Star Wars film.
To play in a movie where I'm like a female Joker or something, like very dark.
Maybe I want to play a woman one day. That would be beautiful.
To have opportunity to do this job, that's all.
I would like to make an historic movie.
Sci-fi movie. I love science fiction. That is the film that I know will become a success before I make it.
I'm working on it right now, maybe.
All the things I didn't do yet.
It's always the next film. It's always about the next film.
We all love stories.
We all love stories.
We all love stories.
We all love stories.
Indang apa saya kok kondao sih, Say? Kayaknya bakal ada pengumuman penting ya.
Pengumuman penting? Pengumuman apaan?
Jadi gini, 100% Manusia Film Festival tahun ini ada lagi.
Gimana caranya, Ren? Kita kan lagi pandemi.
Emang rencana lo kayak gimana?
Jadi, kita akan online. Online-nya di Festival Scope.
Let's go! Yay!
Happy watching, guys.
Oh well, cheers.
Guys, masih meeting nggak sih?
Not a very good state of affairs, Mrs. Jones. Not a very good state at all.
There must be something you can do.
Said he copied all the words from the boy next to him.
That's showing some initiative, right?
He got 0, Peter. Even though he copied, he still got 0.
Your son is out of control.
Can't even spell his own name.
I'd like to go through life without being able to read or write or to be able to communicate.
Yeah, Michael. Spelled M-I-C-A-L.
Gunung Kendeng kuwi tuwa, Mbak. Tanahe subur, akeh sumbere, akeh guwane, sing iso ngairi sawahku lan sawahe kabeh wong sing urip nang lereng-lereng Kendeng.
Biasanya aksi ini kan tujuannya kepengin piye carane ono kerampungan tentang konflik Kendeng iki.
Bapak cerita nang aku ning pati ki arep ana rencana pabrik semen. Mengko nek gununge Kendeng dikeruk, mengko sumber-sumbere sedo ilang, sering ana bencana.
Bertani untuk kehidupan. Tanda lumbung petani akan ku jaga sampai mati.
No sé qué hay como un poco ayude, José María. ¿Cómo vamos a transmitir esto? Dígame. ¡Apúrese!
Vámonos de aquí ya.
Pero allá no hay nada, José María.
Halo, selamat malam semuanya. Selamat datang di acara 100% webinar Diversity Captured. Selamat malam teman-teman, para media, dan juga rekanan 100% Manusia Film Festival. Perkenalkan, nama saya Menina Putri Wismuti. Saya Kepala Program Film dari Festival Film 100% Manusia tahun ini, yang juga merupakan moderator Anda di 100% webinar hari ini. Sebelumnya, 100% webinar ini merupakan program terbaru yang kami adakan di tahun ini ketika kami harus mengikuti dan beradaptasi dengan kenormalan hidup berfestival, di mana kami harus memindahkan festival fisik, festival film kami yang biasanya berlangsung secara fisik ke dalam format online. Nah, sebelum kita mulai, saya ceritakan dulu tentang 100% Manusia Film Festival. Seperti yang tadi saya ceritakan, tahun ini Festival Film 100% Manusia memang harus beradaptasi dengan situasi kenormalan hidup yang membuat kebiasaan kita berfilm festival pun harus berubah. Tapi satu yang tidak berubah adalah kecintaan kami sebagai saya pribadi sebagai film programmer kepada kecintaan saya terhadap menonton film, terutama film-film pendek. Kenapa saya cerita film pendek? Karena dalam film pendek saya merasa bahwa ide-ide lebih bebas berlarian, terutama di negara kami di Indonesia yang kita juga masih menerapkan sistem sensor terhadap semua konten film maupun konten acara lainnya. Jadi buat saya sangat menarik sekali untuk menonton film-film pendek, baik buatan dari dalam negeri maupun dari luar negeri. Dan karena itu tadi saya mengucapkan juga bahwa film pendek jadi sesuatu yang lebih menarik karena bisa merangkum kebebasan berekspresi, terutama juga dalam menyuarakan hati dan pendapat terhadap situasi sosial dan isu keberagaman yang selalu kami bawa di Festival Film 100% Manusia sejak 4 tahun yang lalu. Nah, sebelum kita memulai webinar malam ini, izinkan saya menjelaskan teknisnya. Jadi, harap para panelis untuk mematikan dulu kamera dan mikrofonnya pada saat tidak berbicara. Saya juga akan mengingatkan nanti apabila kamera dan mic Anda masih mati pada saat nanti giliran Anda berbicara. Lalu harap diingat juga bahwa webinar hari ini akan direkam dan disiarkan secara langsung melalui YouTube, dan para panelis maaf, kemarin habis mengusuk festival yang lain ada finalis, jadi sekarang para panelis. Kepada para panelis yang ingin berbicara, yang ingin mendengarkan dalam bahasa Inggris, bisa langsung menghidupkan fitur terjemahan. Di sebelah kanan ada fitur terjemahan dan bisa langsung mengaktifkan opsi bahasa Inggrisnya. Sementara bila Anda ingin mendengarkan dalam bahasa Indonesia, Anda harus menekan opsi bahasa Korea. Nah, ini juga saya bingung kenapa harus pakai bahasa Korea, tapi ternyata begitu adanya. Jadi annyeonghaseyo bisa langsung diterjemahkan, langsung pilih aja ke dalam bahasa Korea tadi. Karena ini juga ada tips sebenarnya dikasih tahu sama penerjemah kami, kadang Zoom tidak bisa, belum bisa, saya lebih memilih kata-kata belum untuk menerjemahkan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi makanya dipilihlah bahasa Korea tadi. Lalu buat teman-teman difabel, kami juga menyediakan juru bahasa isyarat yang bisa dilihat dan agar kalian juga bisa ikutan berpartisipasi dalam acara 100% webinar Diversity Capture ini. Sebagai informasi tambahan, semua film yang dibahas dalam webinar ini masih dapat disaksikan dalam kompilasi 100% screenshots. Dan iya, oke. Sebelumnya saya juga mengucapkan selamat datang kepada para panelis kami, yaitu Yudhistira Tegar Hermawan, sutradara dari film Nyalon, ya, lalu ada Nicholas Oliveira, sutradara dari Kolombia, dari film Atera. Terima kasih. Ada juga produser dari film Those Who Love, Jørgen Lorentzen dari Norwegia. Oke, terima kasih. Sebelum kita memulai acara ini, izinkan saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada para pendukung setia 100% Manusia Film Festival dari sejak awal kami berdiri, yaitu ada dari Uni Eropa, ada Movies That Matter, lalu juga British Council, Cinemax, Cineverse, Info Screening, Kincir, Magdalene, Mokino, Display, stickynote.com. Dan kita masih ada lagi sebelum menyambut ke sebentar. Masih ada lagi partner kami dari Kedutaan Besar Kanada, Cine Europa, Erasmus Huis, Kedutaan Besar Prancis, Kedutaan Besar Belanda, Kedutaan Besar Swedia, Institut Français Indonesia, Kekini Ruang Bersama, Kemala Home Living, Angsa Merah Klinik, Amnesty International, Arus Pelangi, Kontras, LBH Jakarta, LBHM, YLBHI, Margin Kiri, Selatan, Tekstur, Integral Film, Emapil, dan Tumbuh. Sekarang mari kita sambut Festival Director dari 100% Manusia Film Festival, Rain Cuaca. Silakan, Rain.
Ya, terima kasih. Selamat malam semuanya. Hello everyone, good evening. Thank you for joining us in this webinar this evening. So tonight we are about to discuss how diversity is captured in the short films screened in the 100% Manusia Film Festival in the 100% Screen Shorts compilation. In general, we know how short films are great in communicating ideas. It has a slight different language than the feature films, where it is more focused in presenting the ideas of the author, which is really great for an audience like me, who has a really short attention span. So these short films, they are effective tools for reaching out and raising awareness for certain issues. And in our case, raising awareness on human rights and humanity issues. I am very grateful to our panelists tonight, Jürgen, Yueng, Nico, and Yudis, for being here and sharing their insights with us tonight. Also to our moderator Putri, thank you. And of course, our translators and sign language interpreters, thank you all. I hope we all can have a great discussion about the films tonight, whether it is about the issue or about the production. So let's have a great discussion, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Rain. Yes, let's have a great discussion, guys. So I think enough of the small talks. Let's get to the business, guys. This is what we are here for. Oke, saya ngomong dalam bahasa Indonesia. Nanti kalau saya ngomong dalam bahasa Inggris, saya ditoyor sama host saya, Pak Farhan, jadi bos saya malam ini, dan juga Ci Yudit. Oke, pertanyaan pertama akan saya ajukan kepada sutradara dari Inggris, dari film Mikal. Tapi saya akan menanyakan ini dalam bahasa Inggris. Semoga tidak keberatan ya. Hi, Young, you may turn on your camera and also your microphone. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. Good to have you with us tonight at this 100% webinar, Diversity Captured.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very happy to have your film also in our festival.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yes, I definitely enjoy it as a part of the film programmer in the 100% Manusia Film Festival. So, yes, so what was the inspiration basically for your film?
Well, to start with, I mean, you know, I live with somebody who has dyslexia, but I thought I knew, you know, enough about dyslexia. But as we were looking for a topic to do a short film about, I thought maybe because dyslexia has been somewhat in the West, you know, they talk about it, but I thought that there was enough done already for dyslexia. But actually, as I researched more into the subject, I realized that actually not much has been done for people with dyslexia. You know, unless you have money or you have parents who knows where to seek help, and even then you have to have the funds to help you along the way if you have dyslexia. And children who say come from a poorer background do not get any help So I was very determined in the end that I need to make this film to create, again, awareness about dyslexia, and not just about the awareness of dyslexia, but also about the lack of help that these people are getting. You know, so because knowing what it is and what we can do to help is another.
Yes, it is actually quite interesting when we saw your film that we did not fully realize that also dyslexia has become a main issue even in UK. Here in Indonesia, not only dyslexia but also other different ability or other disabled people, they do not have the same opportunity or the equality to enter even like a regular school, and we don't have also facilities to accommodate them to earn a decent education, basically. So that's why when we saw your film, it was like, oh wow, that's even in another part of the world, not only Indonesia, you guys face the same problem.
I mean, yeah, you would think that in United Kingdom, you know, this problem should have been looked into, and that all schools will accommodate for children with this, as you can call it, it's a slight disability, but it does disable the child because they can't learn properly at school. And once this failure to learn in schools, they will end up being, you know, very frustrated, and then they end up doing all the wrong things, you know, whether they end up joining, you know, gangs or, you know, misbehave. All these things will become the result of not actually giving these kids, you know, the right kind of support and the right way of teaching them, because they all can learn. As you know, I found out all these children with dyslexia can learn. You just have to find what level of dyslexia theirs is, and also what kind of dyslexia. I mean, dyslexia is not just not being able to read. You know, there are many forms of dyslexia, and it really range quite a bit. And so when we researched into this, and before I made the film, I was hoping to tell, because the what is dyslexia? Because the question is, what is dyslexia? A lot of people would ask, and I asked the question because I just associated it with, you know, the inability to read, almost like to do it words. But actually, that is, yes, a main part of it is about that. But there are many, you know, ways why they can't read. The reason why they can't read may not be to not being able to see the letters, but sometimes it's to do with actually just not seeing it. You know, it's the way their brain is wired, if you like. And so when I asked, when we spoke to Pat Jones, who we did in the end, we did the short film based on her. She's an expert on dyslexia. And so when I asked her, you know, the question, I said, look, I like to do a film, an awareness film, to make people understand about dyslexia. Is there something, or, you know, is there something you can let me know that I can, you know, project what dyslexia is? And it was interesting because then she made it obvious that actually it's not so simple to say it's to do with reading. It's a lot of things, you know. It's just a start. Okay, it's an understanding that it is to do with reading, but how they can teach the child to overcome the problem. It's not a straightforward one way suits all. It can be many ways to solve their problem. So in a way, when I made the film, I chose the one that all people kind of understood to be dyslexia, about inability to read. That is to make the, you know, the understanding easy, but it's not all there is about dyslexia. But the main point I hope that people get is to feel the frustration of the child and the parents, you know, when they don't get the help. And hopefully that should spur people on to do something about this, because we think actually, because after all these years of people talking about dyslexia, there would have been a lot of work to help these people, but actually from our research, this help is not really forthcoming. All the kids, that when we go to these schools, we find that children are not picked up in their early age about dyslexia. And if they are picked up by the teachers, if they were trained, say, to kind of spot a child with dyslexia, it would be so easy to then quickly put them in the right kind of school or curriculum to let them overcome it. Once they overcome it, it's very funny, because once a child is taught how to overcome that problem, everything falls into place. It doesn't mean that they have to constantly be taught, differently. It's a way of them seeing things. And once they know how to overcome that problem, all the others, as they grow older, everything will fall into place, you see. So it's catching them very, very early, so that when they're young, once you got them to know, oh, you don't read it like that, you have to look at it this way, and then everything else will be fine, and then throughout their educational lifetime, they will be able to learn. So let's hope that, different governments will do more for these people.
Yes, I think it's quite interesting what you said, that if you detect it very early and then you can trigger, and how you can actually adapt. It is the same, not same, probably similar treatment to also what we do to other children. So instead of putting them into the boxes and treating them differently, we just need to find another layer to treat them with something that can motivate them, and like what you said, to trigger, and then also to make them just go directly into which direction that they want to go with the dyslexia. Also, how is it exactly with the education curriculum for the dyslexia kids in England?
It depends on the level of your dyslexia. The very severe dyslexia, children tend to go to specialist school.
Okay.
They have to go to school which are, only for these dyslexic children, or children with disability of kind of learning difficulties. And when they, those are only if you're very serious cases. And they are private, most of these things. Very hard to get that through, governmental bodies and things like that. You really need to have the money to send your child to these private schools. But if your dyslexia is kind of very moderate or not so severe, once they need maybe just one lesson a week, just to start, so that they understand how they can overcome their problem. So these children they can fit into the normal school systems. It's just that they need special help, maybe once or twice a week. It depends how, it is, how much time they need to spend to get that extra help, so that they can follow the rest of the curriculum, without any problems. So it depends on the severity.
Right. So, okay. So there is actually different classes and also different phase that they need to adapt also. And you mentioned earlier that this is actually based on also your personal experience. So what is the most difficulty or the biggest challenge that you find so far in making the film?
Well, I don't have dyslexia. It's just that I know people with dyslexia.
Yes.
But the problem of making the film at first was to really, first and foremost, do I want to tell people what dyslexia is really? Because, dyslexia is very broad. As I said, you know, even the experts can't give it in a very simple one paragraph or one liner. You know, it's not so easy. So when, as the challenge for me as a director to try to, you know, pass on this awareness to people about dyslexia was, at first I thought maybe, you know, okay, this information about dyslexia, you know, do I need to tell them so much? You know, it might be very confusing because it is confusing subject. So in the end, I kind of worked through it and I realized maybe the best way is to just go for the feel, the frustration, to try to project the you know, the torture the little boy went through, you know, the frustration he felt, and also for the mother. So that I hope the feeling of that, oh my God, you know, I hope that people, when they watch this, they say, oh, we have to help these people, you know, because it's so awful and it's and can cause so much distress to the family and to the child. So that in the end was my focal point, you know, to get that emotional connection with the audience.
And indeed, that actually delivered. I mean, I basically shed a tear watching the film. So thank you for making this film. So yes, Yoeng. Thank you. And I think we will continue with the next filmmaker. And anyone who wants to ask Yoeng questions about his film, Mika, you can also put the questions at the Q&A button below. You can also put it in Indonesian language, and I will help to translate them to Yoeng. Thank you, Yoeng.
Thank you.
All right, next, I would like to call the filmmaker of the Colombian filmmaker, Mr. Nicolas Oliveira.
Hello.
Hello, Nico. How are you?
Good. Very well.
Hi, good to see you. It's Nico film Atera is actually the premiered. It's actually premiered in 100% Manusia Film Festival. We are honored to have this this film in the festival. So for the Atera itself, it has very shocking scenes actually. It's not why we chose them though, not because of the shocking scenes, but also but actually more into the issues that portrayed in Atera itself. It somehow it represents also the violence and how there is also a kind of distrust and a violation in the human rights itself. Now, what makes me wonder at this moment is how is it with the condition of human rights in Colombia, and what was the inspiration? Because I remember you mentioned previously that it was you made this film a couple of years ago during something that is big happening in Colombia at that time.
Yes, I didn't want to make the movie exactly about
Colombia situation, but it's pretty much inspired by what happened. So yeah, in the year 2016, Colombia has had a war for 50 years with the guerrilla, and it was about to finish. It was in a process of finish, and there was a referendum on peace to see if we wanted to continue the process of peace in Colombia in 2016. So there was a referendum, and most people voted against it. And that really surprised me, like who would prefer war to peace? in what conditions? So I started
thinking about it, and the idea of the script came
came from that situation. Like I started investigating like why this happened, and I would see like there would be like a lot of fake news, a lot of false information about the process, and that influenced a lot of the decision of a lot of people. So that made me think, and then I saw that was happening in other countries, like misinformation from sources on social media. It has happened probably in the United States, probably here in Indonesia too, in many countries. But in Colombia, it was related to that situation, to the peace process. And so I didn't want to make it exactly to that, but there's a lot of influence of that because my short, it happens, there's a war and they have to escape an attack, and they're lost in the middle of the woods where they don't have like any information of what's happening, and they have to go with what they know. And it's contradictory, like one thing is one thing, the other person yes. So yeah, so yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yes. I think some of our audience can't hear you quite well. Probably there's.
Okay.
I hope. Yes. I hope that now everyone can hear Nico.
I'll try to. Okay. It's okay. I'll try to.
All right. All right. This is also a very independent filmmaker who also can do the sound by himself. So, so yes. Now that is interesting because you mentioned about the background of the story, and then how it's basically a kind of your personal response on the situation in Colombia. But I was just also, I can't help but wonder, why did you choose a female journalist as the leading character in the movie? Is it because of the Me Too movement? But it doesn't even exist at that time, I think.
No, but there's many things to say about that. One of it is I think we should write roles for not just from our point of view, like I'm a male, 40 years old, but I think that we should write from many points of view, right? So this idea came when I saw something that I saw a cameraman working with an interviewer on the street, and that was an idea that idea came from there. And also I've been thinking since I started writing, always I would write first from my point of view. So I would write from the point of view of a male, you know, that is my age. But with time, I started to think, no, I need to open the way I write and what I write about. So I have to try to put myself in the shoes of other people, and it should be like that for everyone. I think we don't think about it because it's when you start writing, you write from what you know, right? And I think a lot of these films, probably they don't think they're writing superhero movies and all of them are male. For a long time in Marvel movies, there was just male male superheroes. So so yeah, I try to open it, and now it's something that I include in the way I write. I want to write so just from my perspective or perspective of other religions, other genders, all of that, right? And it's an effort you have to make. You have to think about it. Oh, why am I writing from my perspective? Why am I not writing from other perspectives? And that pushes you to learn about other cultures. If I want to write a character that is Muslim, I have to learn about Muslims. So that pushes, I think, people who write, that pushes them to try to learn about more, open themselves to more cultures, to more things to do. So this with the journalist, she being, I think it shouldn't be a problem, or even be an issue that we write for female. And I see that more and more there's more prime roles given to females and people of minorities. And I think that's important to include.
Yes, I agree with you, and also how you portray the female characters is quite strong, and she has her own independence and also has her own belief, and she's ready to die and to fight for what her belief is. So that's really quite that's really quite impressive. And also, yes, I agree with you that we need more of a female horror heroine. Not being a feminist, but yes, we do need that in our films. So yeah. But then there's also in your film itself, there's also a soldier character that plays a role. I was just wondering, what is the function of the soldier in terms of human rights application in Colombia itself?
In the situation of Colombia, soldiers, because there's been a war for more than 15 years. There's many different situations with soldiers. For example, young kids being recruited by the guerrilla since they're 14. They're in the army, and then they're left. They don't know. They didn't go to school, for example. They very young. They don't know what to do. They only know about the army. Sometimes pushed to do things that are not that they wouldn't do, that are not moral too from each side. So Colombia is in a peace process, trying to reconciliate people from each side. You know, that's what this peace process from 2016 is reconciliating people from both sides, soldiers with the families probably that suffer from the war. So in a conflict, they are also a victim of the conflict. They're not just the perpetrators. They are perpetrators, but many times they're also victims of it. You know, so a little bit in a more fantastic way. That's what happens a little bit in the short. He's there. He's escaping an attack, and he finds the journalist. Those things. I think I put things that happen in Colombia and probably in other conflicts, but I put them I put them more like in this story, in one singular story, things that happen more in a larger scale. Yeah, for example, in Colombia, and I guess probably these problems are universal wherever there's conflict, right?
Yes, that's true. All right, thank you, Nico, and that's quite for me. It's like, wow, yeah. So apparently, again, there's quite similarity that what we have here as well. So that's why the film also resonates well here with our audience in Indonesia. Thank you for making such a great film. And now we are going to also talk with salah satu Oke, saya harus men-switch kepala saya ke dalam bahasa Indonesia. Karena host saya, Farhan, mengingatkan agar saya nggak boleh jadi alay, nggak boleh dicampur-campur bahasanya dalam bahasa Inggris dan bahasa. Oke, kita akan ngobrol bareng salah satu, sebenarnya malam ini harusnya kita ngobrol juga dengan sutradara film pendek dari Indonesia, yaitu Khairunisa. Hanya saja Ilun, panggilan akrab saya kepada Khairunisa, lagi sakit demam, jadi dia berhalangan hadir malam ini. Dan tapi kita masih ada Yudis. Hai Yudis, apa kabar? Ya, Yudhistira Hermawan ini adalah sutradara dari film pendek Nyalon yang juga termasuk salah satu film Indonesia yang terpilih di kompilasi screenshot 100% Manusia Film Festival.
Halo, apa kabar semuanya?
Kabar baik. Oke. Bagaimana? Kok suaranya agak bergema ya? Sorry. Sebentar. Ya. Oke. Nah, Yudis, aku mau tanya soal bagaimana sih ketika kamu memproduksi film Nyalon ini sendiri. Aku dengar kamu membuatnya pada saat awal tahun ya, dari mulai di tahun ini ya. Nah, mungkin bisa diceritakan sedikit untuk proses produksinya seperti apa dan juga kenapa memilih karakter transpuan dalam film Nyalon ini.
Awalnya sebenarnya kita produksi film Nyalon ini bukan di awal tahun tapi setelah PSBB jilid pertama. Dan kenapa kita ngambil tokoh transpuan? Ceritanya gini, tadinya tuh film ini awalnya kita mau ngebuat film ini tentang pandemi. Hanya tentang pandemi, tentang pedagang yang terdampak pandemi. Tapi ketika waktu itu beberapa hari sebelum pitching sama teman-teman untuk membuat film ini sama tim, aku ngelihat ada transpuan yang masih bekerja di jalan sebagai musisi jalanan. Dan itu ngelihatnya kayak dari situ baru terinspirasi kalau misalkan aku pengen ngambil transpuan gitu. Nah di situ awalnya susah untuk pitching ke teman-teman, meyakinkan bahwa karakter transpuan ini harus ada di film kita gitu. Karena mereka masih punya stereotype dan stigma negatif tentang transgender dan LGBT community. Tapi berusaha untuk ngeyakinin dan akhirnya kita produksi. Dan kenapa sebenarnya kalau dari saya kenapa transpuan? Karena di masa pandemi, bahkan sebelum pandemi, transpuan itu kan kita transpuan itu kan masih belum bisa punya akses ke pekerjaan yang aman gitu. Sekarang kalau misalkan kita lihat transpuan itu, pasti di otak kita kalau seorang transpuan pekerjaannya kalau nggak jadi pekerja seks komersil, jadi pekerja salon, atau kalau misalkan ada di TV pun itu hanya menjadi bahan olok-olokan, ya kan? Nah, waria belum mempunyai akses yang setara dengan yang sama seperti kita gitu, seperti orang-orang kebanyakan. Nah di sini mau melihat, dan karena itu ketika pandemi mereka yang kalau misalkan kita orang kantoran kita pasti bisa WFA, tapi mereka nggak bisa, mereka transpuan yang terdampak yang masih bekerja di jalan, bekerja di salon, itu mereka nggak bisa ngakalin supaya mereka tetap bisa punya pemasukan. Nah, kira udah mau nggak mau mereka ada yang nekat untuk tetap mengamen walaupun pandemi, itu kan bahaya banget gitu kan. Nah, tapi orang-orang nggak peduli dengan si transpuan ini. Nah, dari situ yaudah di akhirnya aku berusaha untuk memperkenalkan transpuan dari sisi yang tidak terlihat gitu. Kalau di film Nyalon ini kan kita ngambilnya transpuan yang menjadi penengah di antara penengah di dalam konflik itu kan. Berarti orang yang bisa mengambil konklusi di tengah pandemi ini gitu. Kalau misalkan biasanya yang kita tahu ya stigma yang ada transpuan itu cuma hanya jadi bahan olok-olokan, tapi di sini mau ngasih ngelihat bahwa transpuan juga bisa mengambil kesimpulan yang bijak.
Oke, jadi tadi kita sempat ngobrol, kamu juga sempat membicarakan mengenai stereotipe tertentu dari transpuan, di mana ada stereotype yang membuat transpuan tidak bisa menerima kesempatan yang sama dalam mencari pekerjaan, sehingga mereka kebanyakan bekerja seperti yang tadi kamu bilang, bekerja di jalan atau bekerja di salon kecantikan atau hal-hal yang serupa seperti itu. Nah, buat kamu sendiri, apakah stereotipe-stereotipe ini sejauh ini dari yang kamu lihat sudah berhasil dipatahkan atau justru mungkin ada faktor lain yang membuat transpuan sendiri agak memiliki keterbatasan dalam bergerak?
Kalau misalkan stigma yang terpatahkan atau belum, menurutku belum ya. Masih banyak, bahkan di angkatanku, aku 21 tahun dan dan seharusnya kan di angkatan aku, di anak-anak muda sosial aku sudah bisa menerima ya, karena seharusnya. Tapi di kalangan anak mudaku tuh, di kalangan angkatanku tuh masih masih banyak yang salah paham tentang transpuan. Mereka masih menganggap transpuan itu sesuatu yang kalau mereka bilang tuh azab Tuhan, apalah segala macam penyebab bencana alam. Dan dan stereotip kayak gitu mungkin yang tadinya seharusnya bisa gampang dipatahkan di usia kita tuh di angkatan aku tuh, di kalangan aku sekarang tuh nggak tahu kenapa makin susah. Dan menurutku anak muda itu kok jadi ini ngomongnya, maaf. Jadi intinya adalah anak muda bentar, sebenarnya aku deg-degan loh Kak.
Tarik nafas dulu, santai aja.
Kita coba ya. Nah, sebenarnya aku mau ngomong di kalangan kita, di anak muda, kalangan aku, ada yang udah ngerti terhadap apa ini transpuan dan isu transpuan, ada yang nggak ngerti, ada yang masih belum ngerti. Nah, yang ngerti ini mereka cenderung diem, dan yang nggak ngerti itu malah banyak noisinya, banyak makin bersuara gitu. Nah, mungkin itu yang salah satu kenapa kita kok susah banget mematahkan stigma yang ada di masyarakat gitu. Nah, bagaimana caranya? Caranya dengan, menurutku caranya dengan yang tadinya diem ini, ayo kita coba sering-sering diskusi tentang masalah transpuan, bahkan masalah LGBT di tempat-tempat umum gitu. Nggak apa, walaupun mungkin ada peraturan yang bilang nggak boleh, tapi ya coba aja, nggak apa-apa gitu. Untuk atau di kalangan pertemanan gitu. Nah, ini sebenarnya film Nyalon itu salah satu cara saya untuk untuk membahas masalah-masalah transpuan. Gitu sih, Kak.
Oke, Yudis. Terima kasih atas penjelasannya. Nanti kita ngobrol lagi. Nanti kalau ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan dari teman-teman kepada Yudis dan juga film Nyalon, silakan bisa langsung dituliskan di kolom Q&A di bawah. Bisa juga dalam bahasa Indonesia ataupun dalam bahasa Inggris. Nanti saya kalau dalam bahasa Indonesia buat para panelis dari negara lain, saya akan bantu untuk terjemahkan. Terima kasih, Yudis. And now we are going to talk with the producer of Those Who Love. Jürgen Lorenzen. Initially, we would like to have Nefise Oscar Lorenzen to join us, but unfortunately she has other prior appointment, and we are so lucky that Jürgen, as the producer of Those Who Love, can also attend the webinar tonight.
Okay.
Jürgen?
Hello, can you see me and hear me?
Yes, I can see and hear you very well.
Okay, that's good. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Jürgen. Good to see you. It's very bright in your window in Norway.
No. I have a lot of lights on around me here so they can see me because it's already dark.
Ah, okay.
Now in Norway, in the winter time, it is only 4 or 5 hours of light, and then so dark comes early.
Right, and then it's already snowing, I guess.
It's already a little bit snowing this morning, yeah.
Yes, wow.
We look forward to more of it.
Really? Wow. All right, but thank you for joining us. And yes, it is unfortunately that Nefise can join, but we are happy to have you here to talk also about Those Who Love. This movie particularly interests us as our film programmer, and especially where it's located in the elevator. This is basically my first question. Why did you and Nefise choose elevator?
Yeah, you know, the thing is that when we started making the film, we were originally asked by an organization if we could make a film about domestic violence or violence in intimate relationships. And, you know, when you are as a creative team are being asked about such a huge question and with no limits, it's totally open. It's a lot of discussions you have to go through. How will you make the film? First, are we going to make a documentary about violence against women? But then we thought, no, it's a lot of films out there actually about violence against women. Let's make a drama, a drama fiction short film in a few minutes. And how can we concentrate such a huge question, you know? Like violence in intimate relationship into 5 minutes. It's not that easy, and of course we wanted to have a broader view on it. Most people today, they know about violence against men's violence against women. It's international, global, we can almost say pandemic in these days. You know, it's all over every country. Thousands of women are dying from violence every year and so on. But we wanted to have a focus as a little bit broader, showing that, yeah, we have men's violence against women, that's for sure. But we also have men's violence against men in gay relationship.
Yes.
We have women's violence against men, also in heterosexual relationship. And we have women's violence against women. And we have, of course, also sexual violence against children. So we wanted to sort of try to put several of these versions into one little film. And then we decided, so the first thing was a drama. We wanted to not only talk about violence against women, but also other type of violence in intimate relationship. And then the second point for us was that we wanted to talk about the shame people feel, the secrets we all carry around. And for example, when we talk about incest or violence against children, we know that it often can take more than 15 years before these young people are talking about it to anybody. So it's a secret you carry with you for a long, long time in your life. Many people are waiting longer than that, you know, before they start talking about it. So we wanted to sort of show this in a filmatic way, these secrets that we all have, these taboos we are carrying, the shame we are carrying with us, because it's not a thing we just go out and talk about. And that is when we decided to have this black box, you know, because the image of the black box is, of course, from airplanes. We are all searching, if an airplane is crashing, we're all searching for the black box, because what is in the black box? Yes, it's truth about everything. You know, the truth is there. So we have this black box that we are carrying around with the truth in it, you know, and at the same time, so then we have to find a location. So how can we do this in such a 4 or 5 minutes way? You know, how can you tell these stories into one you know, connected story? And that's when we decided to make, let's put it in an elevator and make a house of violence, where you have several floors where you can go and talk about violence. You have physical violence, first floor, psychological violence, second floor, you know, and then you have sexual violence, and then you have incest, and you know, so we have you have a house where we can go and we can speak about these different types of violence. And then we decided, if you put all the characters into one elevator, it's very concentrated, it's very compact. We have them there with their stories together, and are they ready to go out? You know, this is the thing. Are you ready to go out and start talking about it, or are you not? You know, and you see that we are coming to this first floor with a story about physical violence, and she's not yet ready to go out and start opening up her black box. She's closing her black box, and there we are. Yes. You know, so it's also a question about, we have to start talking about it. Yes, we have to leave the elevator, in a sense. You know, we are standing in the elevator for years in our lives. We have to leave it. We have to get out there. We have to take it out. This is the elevator symbolizing, you can say.
Yeah, and I think that's worked pretty well and very effective in creating also a kind of intensity, yes, and a thrilling moment. I mean, and also a little bit of claustrophobic, which probably everyone could feel. And also, this is basically why we choose this film, because it resonates well with the situation at this moment. With, as you mentioned, in the pandemic, the domestic violence is the number rises up, and then also not only in heterosexual relationship, but also, as you mentioned, in LGBT relationship, and also in parents, and in any kind of relationship. And it is also the interesting part of having layers of floors, yeah, like you mentioned, like in a house of, and when they holding also this black box, which is, I think all of us can resonate. We are, yeah, and it is, and also to admit that we are holding this hold back is also okay. Yeah. That is why you, not to be a spoiler, probably maybe someone already haven't watched the film yet.
It's not a very long film. It's not a very long film.
But this is what I like about your film, actually, because in a very short time you get everything delivered, and it's really, yeah, it's very intensified, the feeling, and you can't help but grabbing a tissue at the end of of the film. Yeah. Yes. And how did you? How long is the process for the film itself? And how did you choose all the characters? Because I can see also, like, you try to represent all kind of human in the elevator.
Yes, you know, this is the philosophy of our company, you know, film company. It's to work with variety of gender, sexuality, and also with ethnicity and religions. You know, this is sort of the first thing we are working on. And in this film, the characters was the first thing we had. So the most difficult thing was actually to find an elevator. So we searched for a long time around in Oslo to see if we can find an elevator that we could use for a whole day. You know, elevators are used all the time. How can we find an elevator that they can give us for one day, and which also could be fit for how we wanted it. You know, to have this claustrophobic feeling, it had to be closed off, not a lot of glasses or windows or things like that. So we needed a sort of this claustrophobic feeling, as you say, in it. And but when we found the elevator, then the rest of it was quite easy, actually. And of course, we have a lot of people we have been working with, and a lot of people we know, actors from different cultures, different backgrounds, that we can choose if we want to when we're making a film like this. And it's so important, you know. Especially this is an important issue in Europe, in Norway. where we have a main population is white like me, you know, but we have all these other people present here, and we have to show this variety all the time when we are working in film. That's our obligation.
Yes, and I'm surprised to know that it's actually a real elevator. I thought that it was just like in a studio.
No. We tried to see if we can make it, but we want to know it's a real elevator.
Wow.
So it's a real elevator.
Yes. And then
but the
also,
house, I mean, the house of violence is not real.
That's actually my next question.
Yeah, but perhaps we need it all over, you know, a safe place where everybody we can go and open our black boxes and talk about the abuses that we have experienced in our lives.
Yes, that's true. And then also, there was also like a kind of aspect that I see you want also to touch like you mentioned earlier, that you want to put all the kind of issues there, not only the abusive form of physical, but also mentality with the mother, and then also.
I think that's important, because when we do interviews with people, if you look at surveys and studies all over the world, you can see that the biggest amount of violence is psychological violence. And also most people are actually talking about the psychological violence in a way as worse than the physical violence. Sometimes, I mean, if someone hit you, you can defend yourself, or you can leave it, you can say, I don't want this, but the psychological violence is very difficult to handle. How can you confront it? How can we talk about it? And because it's almost it's making a bagatelle out of it, you know. So it's hard but people are saying that the psychological violence makes them feel like they're losing their self, you know. They're losing their idea of being a fully grown up person. So we had to also confront, but psychological violence is sometimes very subtle. So how can you show subtleness in film? It can be difficult, and we find a situation here that we think sort of caught the idea of how psychological violence function. You take away the value of other people.
Yes, and how is it actually with the psychological violence and also the mental health treatment in Norway?
I think it is better than many other places. We have, first of all, we have a very well-developed structure of crisis center. And the crisis center here, it's open for both men and women. And they are all over in the country. So all the regions have their crisis center, and it's a lot, people can go there. They're open for everybody, young and old, and so on. And also we have family crisis centers, or more psychological or therapeutic help for families in also having difficulties, where you can go without costs, you know, just to talk for a couple of hours. So it is available. The thing is that we need to tell people that this is something you have to go and talk about.
True. Here in Indonesia, we have that kind of challenges to convince or motivate people to be more open with this kind of issue. And also we rarely have a kind of crisis center. That's why within the festival itself, we provide a session where people can do a kind of venting session in 100% heart-to-heart. So that's actually started also at the same time your film is being screened this afternoon. So this is really interesting to have your film.
Thank you. I really hope it will be used, because this is what I think it's a film that can perhaps trigger people to go out and talk about it, because as you say, it's a huge problem in many countries. And for me as a feminist, I'm of course very occupied with giving the consciousness to men to start dealing with it, because even though you find violence in many different relationships, it's basically still mostly men that is the perpetrator of violence. So we have to focus on men and start asking men to change.
I agree with you, especially here in Indonesia.
I know.
Okay, Jürgen, yeah, Jürgen, thank you so much. And now we will go to the questions from the audience. And I would like to also remind you guys that we have a free giveaways for everyone who gave the best questions for tonight for the 100% webinar tonight in diversity captured. And you can also, oh, sorry, why am I speaking in English? Oh ya, jadi semuanya bisa bertanya di tombol di fitur pertanyaan Q&A di bawah. Jadi kalian bisa menanyakan segala macam pertanyaan, bisa dalam bahasa Indonesia dan bisa juga dalam bahasa Inggris. Nanti kami akan ada giveaways juga buat para penanya terbaik malam ini. Jadi silakan menanyakan di kolom tersebut, di button tersebut. Sebentar, saya mau bertanya dulu kepada host, apakah para panelis harus membuka kameranya sekarang? Oke, ya. Saya mohon agar para panelis bisa membuka kameranya. For this Q&A session, I would like to ask the panelists to open their camera, but still mute their microphone. Thank you, Yewen. And we are still waiting for, thank you, Nico, and Yudis. Great, thank you, Yudis. All right, now the first questions. So, yes, well, both questions are in Indonesian language, so I will translate to you guys. Wow, it's, I'm very appreciative for all of the panelists who already wants to voices their the importance of other community in their film, and thank you for 100% Manusia. The discussions is really helpful, and I'm very happy to hear that. All right, so there's no questions in here, so just an appreciation. Thank you for the anonymous attendee for giving this. It's really, really a good comment for all of us here. Okay, now is from Siti Fadila. I would like to ask, oh, saya mau tanya ke, okay, saya mau tanya, so Siti Fadila has like a, sorry, Siti Fadila has like 3 questions. First is actually to Yudhistira, how people respond to your film, and then also basically also to all of you, how the people respond to your film, those who love Jürgen, and also to the film of Mikael and Atera as well. So probably we could start with Yudhis first.
Hai, makasih Siti Fadila udah nanya. Untuk film Nyalon, respon orang-orang sih sejauh ini semuanya ketawa ya. Karena genre itu komedi, terus emang sebenarnya kenapa komedi, karena pada akhirnya aku ngambil keputusan untuk memilih ini menjadi komedi. Ini kan diputar, ini ditayangkan di saat pandemi, terus kayak pengen menghibur orang di tengah-tengah pandemi ini, itu aja sih. Dan alhamdulillahnya rata-rata orang yang lihat sih ketawa.
Okay, thank you, Yudhis. And probably we could also start with Yewen. How is the response for the film Mikael that you received so far?
Well, so far it's been very positive. I mean, we've had very good response in the comments that we've got from YouTube, because the film is also, we have actually put it on YouTube. And we are, I think this time today, almost 500,000 views of the film. So it's considerable, the number. And the comments we've been getting on YouTube have been very, very positive. And I'm glad that it's finding an audience. I mean, it's growing organically on YouTube. which is very good because that's the whole point. We want people to see it, feel it, be aware, and hopefully we can do some changes in this world.
Thank you, Ewing. And then Nico, I know this is actually a premiere of your film. How do you, maybe there's people already respond?
The only people who have seen it are the team. So this is the first time the Indonesians are the first one to see it, probably in a context that is very different, but it's interesting to see, like, away from the context of Colombia, how it is received. And I'm hoping that I get a response, see how it is perceived here. It probably is perceived in a very different way here, or maybe not. Maybe there's some similarities that can be drawn up the film. So I'm hoping to get those answers here.
Thank you, Nico. And Jörgen, how did the people respond to those who love?
One reaction we have got is very interesting, because several people have written to us or contacted us afterwards and thanking us for this wonderful documentary. And I find that really interesting, that it is so well made that people think it is a documentary, you know. So, but it's, in a way, it's true, you know. It can easily be seen as a documentary because these are the stories we are all carrying with us. So people are immediately going straight into these different stories and identifying with them. Yeah. And outside of that, I think the two metaphors we are using with the elevator and the black box is also going very quickly into the emotions of people. So we can see that people start crying, you know, as you said, that they start crying after 4 minutes, you know, and that's an amazing effect film can have, and that is also, of course, giving us satisfaction in a way. We are very, very deeply grateful for that, because then we see that people react to the stories we are telling in a way we want them to react, because we want, of course, people to go out there and start talking. This is the most important thing.
Yes, that's true. That's basically why we choose all the 5 films here, because it creates such a turmoil of emotions by watching all of the films that you guys have made. And this is why actually we are having this webinar, because you guys managed to capture all these kind of issues of diversities, even in a different kind of the world and in any kind of layers. This is something that's wonderful. And yes, probably in 4 minutes, you can basically grab the tissues or laugh with the Yudhishthira, also funny story about the trans women. And now, but also Siti Fadila still asks the same question to all of you guys. Is there any people who against, like maybe you receive some kind of negative feedback from the people who has already watched it? Maybe
I can answer first because it's quite easy.
Yes.
Because I cannot think about any negative reactions we have got, actually. We were perhaps expecting that someone would react that we are not basically or singularly focused on violence against women, because when we say violence in intimate relationships, everybody is thinking about violence against women. You know, that's the sort of the main question. But no one has discussed it or taken that as in a defensive matter, that we are also here focusing on other type of violence in intimate relationships. So we are very happy for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jörgen. How about you, Ewing? Is there any negative feedback you receive, or maybe some kind of input that could be useful for your next project?
You know, I think the topic itself, I think everybody was relating very positively to the whole thing. You know, if there were any criticism, I think they will criticize maybe the direction, or maybe on the, you know, technical side of things. But we didn't get many of that. You know, you may get the occasional people who might say, "Oh, I don't like that music," or something like that. But it's not to do with the issue. I think most of the time, every comment that we've had, they have been really very, very positive. And you know, maybe you get the occasional people who think that, oh, I don't like that music, but that, you know, but those things, you can't please everyone, you know. On the actual making of a film, you know, there are so many things you open yourself up for criticism for the filmmaking. But in terms of the issue, and I think most of the things that have come back, you know, we've been very, very happy with the response.
Yes. Oh, that's good. And then, yes, I agree with you. Actually, we cannot please everyone, but it is still a drive for us to create good films and to still voices our issues through our films, actually. So, yes. And then also for Nico.
Well, not yet.
Are you still muted, Nico? Sorry.
So, yeah, no, not yet. No positive and no negative. So we're safe for the moment. We need to hear from Indonesians now, see what they think about it. But I'm open for both. I think we learn from both. I think it's an opportunity to listen. These festivals are an opportunity to listen from the audience too. So this is an opportunity for us to learn also, like how we are perceived, because a little bit filmmaking is a discussion with the public, so with the audience. So I hope to hear from people. Yeah.
Yes, this is actually a good opportunity for everyone also to let Nico know. Nico is available on his Instagram and also at Terra Film Instagram, so that you guys can actually also directly send your feedback to him. Be it a negative or a positive one, that would be great to listen to. Nah, ya sekarang untuk Yudis, bagaimana Yudis? Ada selama ini, karena filmmu sudah pernah diputar sebelumnya di acara yang lain ya, dan apakah sudah ada mungkin respon dari orang-orang, terutama juga isunya yang mengangkat isu transpuan?
Sebenarnya ini semua udah dipikirin dari awal. Ketika kita mau mengangkat isu transpuan, awalnya pikir kalau misalkan di Indonesia transpuan itu masih dianggap sesuatu yang tabu. Nah, makanya itu ketika kita memilih genre film apa yang mau kita bawakan, itu kita pada akhirnya kita memilih komedi karena itu genre yang aman untuk kita memperkenalkan isu perempuan ke masyarakat. Itu sih. Jadi semuanya bisa tertawa tanpa ada rasa apa namanya? No offense gitu loh.
Jadi tanpa ada rasa dikuliahin gitu ya?
Iya. Tersinggung. Iya, benar. Gitu maksudnya. Sejauh ini sih belum ada. Gitu. Sejauh ini sih belum ada.
Ya, semoga nggak ada ya. Semoga semua pendapatnya semakin mendukung dan positif. Oke. Sekarang kita lanjut. Sekarang kita lanjut ke pertanyaan selanjutnya. Ini ada pertanyaan untuk Nico. You mentioned that your film was inspired by events in Colombia a few years ago. But watching it today, there seems to be a lot of parallel messages to current events. Can you share how you see the relevance of the film to today's current events?
Yes, I think it's relevant for many situations in many countries where information is difficult to know what is fake news, what is not, and how they influence the public. I think in my short movie, it's about a conflict, but it's been happening everywhere in many ways. I think in many countries, probably the other panelists can talk too how it happens in their own countries. But for example, like people in the US now, there are people who don't believe that coronavirus exists, even as they're dying, because and they're affected by it, and they don't believe it. So there's a parallel in my short movie where at the end she's suffering very much, and she still believes something that probably is true or not. We don't know, because sources of information it's become a problem. What is true and what isn't, right? What to believe, social media. So yeah, I think it is relevant in any country right now in many different ways. It can be country elections, could be wars, could be a pandemic. So social media and fake news and what is not true tend to influence negatively more and more, I think, around the world.
Thank you, Nico. Yes, I think that's also answered. And this is why actually why Nico Films Atera is also being selected in the festival, because it is also resonate with the issues here. And also basically all of the films that selected at the screenshots compilation of 100% Manusia Film Festival has been chosen because it also shows great courage in each of the characters of the portrayed in the film itself. Now, there's also another questions from Jaya, who's, to all of you guys. How big is it actually an impact of making a short film? Does it actually give a kind of enlightenment to the movement of the minorities? And which one that can actually give more effect? A feature-length film or a short film? Maybe Yoen, you can start first.
Well, I think as your director did say, I mean, people today, young people especially, their attention span is quite short. So maybe a short film these days might do better in getting people's attention. But obviously features, has a different way. I mean, you'd be looking at, if you're looking at it technically as a film, maybe to make the point much more rounded, more balanced view, you might need a much longer film to give that diversity of views, or maybe to look into that topic much deeper, if you like. Then you might need a feature. But I think if your point is quite in a way kind of straightforward, not too, because sometimes most of films, short films, I find, tend to leave you much more questions, if you like. They are for more questions to come out of it rather than just giving you answers. I think it's about getting more questions should come out of watching a short film, let's say. So maybe depending on what you're trying to achieve and how you approach it, you will get the different response. I think each thing has its own merit, whether it's a feature or whether it's a short. So it's down to how you want to approach it, and maybe also down to what the message is about and how you want it to be perceived.
Thank you, Yoeng. And what you, Jörgen?
Yeah, I agree with Jeven to a large degree here. It is two very, very different formats, and needs it's two different ways of telling the story in a way. So it's hard to compare in a way. But when it comes to reaching out, of course, a 5 minutes film, also as Jeven said, it's easier perhaps to put out there, and you can on all kind of social media, you can put it, you can screen it. It's you can use it as a small film before the feature films in cinema. You have a lot of possibilities to use it. You can use it in seminars and in conferences. So in that way, it's I think it's for the if you look at the possibility to use it, it's easier to use a short film. But I just want to say two things also, because it's important here to remember that making a short film can be very, very difficult, and I'm not seeing too many really good short films, I have to say, because you have to reflect and use a lot of time on how to tell a story in such a short time. And I came to remember the very, very, very famous words of Churchill when he's saying that, if I'm going to speak in 30 minutes, I don't need really to prepare my speech. If I'm speaking for 50 minutes, then I need some time. But if I'm going to speak for 5 minutes, then I really need a lot of time to prepare my speech. And I think that's also how it can work with short films. That if you're going to make a short film, you have to be working very hard with a manuscript, with ideas, and discuss it and work on it for a long time before you start shooting it. So we are very sure that you are telling the story you want to tell within these few minutes. And I agree that it's an easier way to raise the questions. You know, you can raise the questions, you can get it out, and you can get people to start discussing it and giving their answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Jürgen. I think that's also a good tips for everyone who wants to be also a filmmaker to make their short films. And then, yes, Yudis, bagaimana pendapat kamu? Mana yang lebih kira-kira lebih besar mana impactnya nih, yang film pendek atau film panjang? Mungkin karena kamu belum bikin film panjang, kira-kira dari film pendek sendiri gimana impactnya?
Kalau untuk film pendek sendiri tadi benar kata Jürgen dan Yuang. Tapi kalau di Indonesia tadi kata Mbak Putri di awal bilang untuk membuat film dan dengan isu yang sensitif itu lebih gampang film pendek, karena untuk film panjang distribusinya ada dalam masih dalam sensor, lembaga sensor. Jadi kalau misalkan untuk bisa itu jadi pergerakan, itu lebih gampang lewat film pendek. Dan kita juga bisa lebih berkreasi, lebih bisa bermain di film pendek dibandingkan di film panjang.
Oke, Yudis, terima kasih. Dan sekarang kepada Nico. Now it's to Nico. Yes, which one is more impactful, Nico?
They both can be very impactful. I agree with the other panelists. Also, I think when you have short movies that are made into full-length movies, sometimes the result is not appropriate because it feels like it's been stretched out. It's two different mediums. I think they have to be approached in different ways. And but it's a way, and I think it's personally, I think it's sometimes a mistake. Sometimes people write a short movie to have it made into because it's less money, or it's considered easier, but not necessarily. But for sure you need less money, and then from that short movie they want to make a longer movie, and many times it's not, unless there's a lot of work in the rewriting. When you try to translate it to a long movie, it's very difficult. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I think it has to be approached as different mediums, yeah, especially when you're writing it.
Okay, thank you, Nico.
Can I add one point?
Yes, please, Jürgen.
Because this is because we have just finished now a feature film. So one thing which is wonderful with a short film is that the time you spend from the day you shoot, usually you shoot the film only in one day. You know, when you do a short film, you can do 1 or perhaps 2 days. So the time from you shoot the film till you have a finished film is wonderfully short. You know, it's the shooting is quick, the editing is quick, and the post-production is quite quick too. So you can have a film quite rapidly after you have shot it, and that's for me now, working for years with a full feature film. That's a good part of it, you know. And of course, as Nicolas says, it needs less money to do it, and it can be quite fun, you know, to work with short films.
True. Yes, this is why actually I personally encourage everyone in Indonesia to make short film first, because here, where censorship is playing a very huge role, the short film, like what Yudis mentioned before, can actually roam around everywhere, and it can actually tell a lot of different variety of the issues without being afraid of being censored, actually. And now we have actually our last questions. how long does it take for each of the filmmaker to do a research on the issues that portrayed? And as you mentioned, Jorgen, also that it's easier to find funding actually for short films. So probably you, all the four of you can actually give a kind of tips for the young filmmaker that join us tonight and also for the press that join us tonight. How do you find the funding to enable your project in the making a short film? Probably, Jorgen, you can start.
Oh, funding is always a problem, isn't it? Everywhere in the world. Well, in my case, it was slightly, how do you say? Because maybe, because I haven't made that many films, and I was very lucky with the funding, because especially the second film, which is Michael, when we approached Pat and Mike Jones about turning the emphasis on them, basically to tell their story in a way. So they too were very keen to see this project being done. So they also put money into it. So in the same case, I think if you're doing, say, an idea, your idea involves a certain group of people, or maybe there must be organizations out there that maybe who are championing a certain cause, say, in my case it was dyslexia, but there will be other organizations that will touch upon issues that you want to talk about and you want to do. And I think these organizations, some of them will have some funding that they can help with. So I think as long as if you approach the people that will find, they will feel for your project, I think they will be the ones most keen to back you or to fund you. Whereas if you just approach, say, a big international company, yes, they may have the money, but to them, it makes, doesn't resonate with them. And so they may not put any money with you. So I suppose the main thing is to approach organizations or individuals who have the same motivation in a way. So they are the easiest people to convince to part with a bit of money. But otherwise, that's my take on it, on the funding.
Thank you, Johan. That's actually very practical take on the funding. I couldn't agree with you more. That's really, really true, actually. Yes, and maybe Nico, you could help to give some kind of tips and also on the research that you did, because I understand that you made this film quite a long time ago.
I've used okay. I've used two kinds. For my first short that I sent to festivals, I did a crowdfunding, and I worked with a lot of friends. That was a way to do it. The last one I self-financed because questions of time. Also, I wanted to do it very fast. I put on my own money to do it, and I view it as an investment. And I think you have to do it. You have to. If you don't believe in your project, nobody's gonna believe in it. Nobody's gonna believe. You have to believe it yourself. So you have to find it. However, and there's always ways for it depends on each project. Maybe one is I couldn't do two crowdfundings one after the other because all my friends already gave. I think you have to wait a little bit. Once you do one, you do one, you wait, they like it, and then you can do a second one. So this one, because of the timing, because of what's happening, I self-financed, and I think as for the research, I think well, maybe on the other shorts is different. For me, it's a lot of like I draw a lot from life experience, and then when there's something I don't know, I investigate that and I try to learn about that, and so it varies a lot. I mean, for subjects, it's more about my life experience, how I met with people. I draw a lot from those experiences. That's like research in life. Like you're living and you're researching because you're speaking with people, you're meeting new people, and they somehow make it into the story. So it varies a lot on your theme. I think for maybe for Yuan, he had to do a lot of research for his for the subject matter. When you want to treat some things with respect and give like the whole idea on a problem like that, you have to do a lot of research. So it varies a lot. It varies a lot on what your project is.
Thank you, Nico. Yes, I also agree with you more. Usually also filmmaker in Indonesia will actually ask for their friends' monies first. Ask for the closest inner circle. That's actually the best way of funding your film. Okay, now how about you, Yudis? Bagaimana Yudis? Waktu pendanaan filmnya sendiri, bagaimana kamu? Apakah juga dari teman-teman kayak seperti Nico tadi, atau ada bantuan dari orang tua mungkin, atau atau crowdfunding? Tadi sudah dibilang juga.
Kalau aku datang dari komunitas film di tempatku, namanya Wani, berani. Jadi waktu itu dari situ kita ngumpulin uang, kita ngerjain bareng-bareng dari masa riset sampai film itu jadi, diedit dan didistribusi, itu kita bareng-bareng semuanya untuk pendanaan sampai tempat, sampai mencari cash, semuanya itu kita kolektif, patungan bareng-bareng gitu sih. Jadi sama kayak Nico.
Terima kasih Yudis. Yes, patungan is the best. Potluck.
Iya. Urungan.
Okay, thank you Yudis. Jürgen, what about you? And also with the integral film the company that you made.
Yes. Funding is it's a main international problem, of course, and if you are in film because you want to be rich, you have to find another job. That's for sure. Filmmaking is a tough business, and that's why young filmmakers have to start with making short films. Basically because it needs less money, and often you can see that short films is made in as a solidarity work between people that are working in film together. You know, you have photographers, directors, group of people that are working together because they want to create films. They want to create good films. They want to express themselves through films. And as Yuveng said, the first thing is, of course, if your film has a specific topic, you have to first go to the organizations or the people that are involved in that topic. And one way is just, of course, to ask them to contribute with money. But another way of doing it, you can ask, for example, if there are several organizations that are working on this topic, you can ask them if they want to be a part of an advisory board or advisory group for the film. You know, you can involve them in the filmmaking in a way. And then they have a position there, then they can have their name there, and then it can also perhaps be easier to ask them to donate some sponsor the film too. So this is the first way, I think. And then the second is, of course, some countries, they have national or regional film institutes that are giving away some money to people that want to make film. And here we have the National Film Institute, and they will not really support young filmmakers if they don't have a track record. And the only way to build a track record is through short films. So they have to prove themselves as good filmmakers through making short film with less money. And then a friend of mine here, a young colleague, he made a wonderful little film, 10 minutes. And it has been now screened in different festivals. And then now recently, only a couple of months ago, he got the phone from Hollywood. I've seen your short film. It's a wonderful story. Can you make it into a feature film? You know, so this can happen, you know, if you work hard enough and you're persistent on the quality on all levels. You know, you have to be it has to be good sound, the correct music. It has to be good filmography, you know, and then you can really, then people will discover it and see it. Thank you.
Yes, Yes, I agree with you. If you make something with all of your heart and also give all of your effort, I think that will definitely shows into the work that you did. And sorry, and yes, we have other questions, but I think this has been answered also from Yudis, the genre comedy, it has been answered by Yudis, and also the sensitive issues to all of the panelists, we have answered that too. And I think, oh yeah, one last question. I hope this is very last, guys, please. This is like one last question. To every filmmaker in the panel who wishes to share, what kind of film that you have been wanting to make but have not got the chance to do? Maybe we can start with Nico.
Yes. So right now, I'm actually doing it. I'm writing it since the pandemic has stopped some of my projects. I've been writing a longer film. That's what I've been wanting to do. And the subject is immigration, and I'm writing on it, and I'm very happy because it's a theme that is really, well, I'm an immigrant. I've been an immigrant. I've been somebody that comes back to his country. I'm somebody that's been in many different places, and I want to draw from that to tell the story from a personal point of view of immigration. So it will be a little difficult. It will be 2 countries, but I think you have to first dream whatever you dream, and then the problems, you'll solve them later. You don't limit yourself because you think, oh no, this idea, well, maybe you'll write it. It will be too difficult to do, but there's other ideas that don't limit your ideas. That's kind of like, I'm not limiting myself at this moment to do it. So hopefully, and I intend to do it. I think you have to believe like that way for other filmmakers. Believe that your idea, you have to believe you're gonna make it. Don't. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, it's so difficult, I'll just write it, but if somebody likes it, I'll do it. No, if somebody doesn't like it, you go to the next person, and if there's no one, you do it. So that's how I'm approaching writing this. I mean, I'm gonna, 2 things. I'm gonna write what I wanna, what I see, what I have in my mind, and second, I will do it in any way of like, by any means necessary. And I think that's how independent filmmakers should approach every idea.
Thank you, Nico. That's very inspiring, actually. And also now, Jorgen, since you just also finished your recent feature film.
Yeah.
Maybe is there anything else that you want to portray?
I think Nicholas put it in a good way. This pandemic period has perhaps made it possible for us to sit down, do nothing for a while, and then we can think about what we want to do and what we can dream about doing.
True.
When we hopefully can get out in the world again. But you know, there are so many stories out there. This is the most important thing. You know, we are basically a company that is making documentary films. So the 2 films we are finishing now and launching next year, they're both documentaries. And when you start looking around you, there are so many beautiful stories, strong stories, tough stories to tell. We have a world that is growing problems with suppression, dictatorships, authoritarian regimes, you know, and so many inequality is growing all over the world. So there are so many good topics to be told. And also, if you are on the creative side and you want to do a fiction film, it's just to believe in yourself and follow your ideas and and if you're a filmmaker, you have to be a creative person, and then you just have to go for it, you know, and totally believe in your. And if you have problems with writing them, write them together with other people, you know. Work in team. Don't be alone with your ideas. Work in team. That is also a good way of doing it and developing things and sharpening your ideas, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorgen. And Yudis, ada film yang ingin dibuatkah? Yang belum kesampaian sampai saat sekarang? Masih di mute, Yudis.
Oke.
Sebenarnya ada, ini cerita lama banget dan ini agak lumayan sulit untuk membuat film ini karena sulit untuk mencari cast-nya karena ini cerita yang eksplisit. Karena ini ceritanya berasal dari kisah hidup saya, jadi agak narsis ya, tapi sebenarnya ini terinspirasi dari kisah hidup saya. Anyway, aku ini gay dan saat remaja pernah mengalami trouble as a gay, sebagai gay dan ya saya mau membuat itu dan ingin membuatnya secara serius dalam format film pendek. Gitu sih.
Oke, Yudis, semoga berhasil. Let us know aja nanti kalau sudah jadi ya filmnya. Oke, Yeweng, how about you? Is there any films that you want to make that haven't got a chance yet to be made?
Sorry, I think there was a bit of a lapse with a bit of time.
Okay. Sorry for.
Just to say, I mean, I got into filmmaking late in my life because my background has nothing to do with films. It was very technical stuff, into accounting and very boring things, construction and things like that. So getting into film was something I wanted to do when I was young, but never did. So this was a great, personal kind of, joy to be able to be involved with these films that I've done. I mean, I've only done 2, but they've both given me a lot of pleasure, a lot that I've learned because, it's easy to say, oh, I want to do a film, but the learning process, that you get is incredible. I mean, the first film, Secret Child, that I did was, so intense. We spent months preparing for it. And when it was all done, I was exhausted. And so I think for me, it's very interesting to do films, but very much so I want to learn. I want to challenge myself. And in terms of the genres that I've done, maybe the film that I would like to do maybe would be in the genre of horror, which I've never done before. But I'm fascinated by using horror to put across a point. Maybe there is a topic that's on the back of my mind, which I want to kind of put it out there in the world. It's a little bit of a taboo topic, but I want to make it into like a horror film to make this point. So it's in my mind how to approach it, but I haven't really got things down on paper as yet. Yeah, it takes a lot of time to prepare all these things. And possibly another one which I like to do is to do with dance, something that is very physical, that the expression is not so much through words, but through the expression of your body. So I like to maybe explore a little bit into that area. But again, you need inspiration. The idea of using a way of finding something is there, but then to how I can narrate the story or narrate the point is another. So there's a lot more work yet to be done on my side to try to get these things done.
Thank you, Yeweng. Yes. I would love to see the dance, and also, you know what, horror film is actually the most box office films in Indonesia, so that would work well here. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So if you have a horror film with a social protest in it, that would be even great.
Oh yeah, it's a kind of slightly taboo topic. People don't talk much about it, but it's actually about disabled children. And I want to use how in some parts of the world, disabled children are actually hidden from society.
Yes.
And I just want to use this as a way of making a horror film. And I think to make the point about these hidden children. But it's in the pipeline.
That's good. That's good. We're looking forward to see that. It resonates well here because yes, here also disabled people are hidden and sometimes they are even chained in some isolated areas. So this is something that we are still fighting in this festival. Now we have come to an end actually. Yes, this has been such a wonderful, I'm lost for words. I don't know how to conclude. I don't want to conclude anything because everything that what you guys said is very precious and it's very uplifting. And now I want to make movies somehow. I don't know how, but I can only do a programming of film. But then that's why I'm waiting for the films from all of you guys. And I love short films, as you guys mentioned. How, as what Jorgen said, Churchill will need a lot of time to make a short 5-minute speech and to make a very impactful film in such a very limited time. This is something that's, wow, it's incredible. Thank you so much for joining the 100% webinar. My host, Farhan, is actually aiming something like this. So I think he wanted to do a kind of photo session. So please, Farhan, maybe you can kindly cue us to do the photo op before we end the session.
Hello, everyone. Wait. So we are going to do the photo session. Please stand still in your camera and I will count to 3 to avoid any delay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, our interpreter is fine. Okay.
One more?
One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I will call the sign interpreter to come to join us for the photo.
Cindra and Mbak Esti.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been such a wonderful evening. And thank you for spending the Friday night and Friday afternoon for Jorgen and Yeweng with us in 100% webinar in 100% Manusia Film Festival. For all of our audience, please note that the film, the screenshot film, all the selected 5 films are still available until the next 5 days, until the 9th of December. And the tickets are still available, so you can directly go to festivalscope.com to watch the festival, to watch the films online. And Farhan just also notified me that we have a winner. Oh ya, pemenang dari Q&A hari ini adalah Liz Mendenhall, lalu ada juga Siti Fadila, dan ada juga Jaya Andriguna dan Levina. Semuanya menang di sini. Sama, terima kasih. Oh ya, terima kasih. I need to learn also the sign language. This is very interesting. Ya, terima kasih banyak kepada para panelis. Terima kasih sudah hadir malam ini memeriahkan edisi keempat dari 100% Manusia Film Festival. Terima kasih sekali sudah menghadiri sesi yang sangat menyenangkan ini, di mana kita jadi semakin termotivasi untuk membuat karya-karya yang bagus, yang bisa menyentuh hati semua orang. Dan juga film-film yang menarik untuk ditonton. Buat teman-teman semuanya, kita masih ada film-film di 100% Manusia Film Festival. Besok kita akan ada film-film lainnya juga yang bisa ditonton. Langsung segera daftar, booking tiketnya di festivalscope.com. Aduh, saya lupa filmnya apa aja. Padahal saya kepala program filmnya. Ada banyak filmnya, ada 5 film pendek dan ada 10 film panjang, termasuk kemarin kita sudah membuka dengan film Stars by the Pound, dan kita akan menutup dari Prancis, dan kita akan menutup dengan film dari Kanada, Stage Mother. Lalu hari ini kita ada film screenshot, kompilasi dari 5 film pendek pilihan, dan juga ada dan juga ada dokumenter yang kesukaan saya, si Mei, tentang HIV/AIDS yang dibuat oleh saudara Andy Cohen. Dan besok kita ada film yang bisa ditonton semuanya, yaitu ada Too Far Away, dan juga ada film tentang isu mental health, King of Atlantis. Dan kita juga ada lagi hari Minggu banyak film lainnya. Kita juga akan ada film dari Indonesia, dari sutradara Dirmawan Hatta, Sebelum Berangkat, atau dalam bahasa Inggrisnya In God's Design. Dan juga ada malamnya ada film dari Inggris, Ray and Liz. Itu adalah film yang sangat menarik untuk ditonton. Lalu hari Senin kita ada film apa lagi, Farhan? Saya harus tanya dulu. Masih banyak film lainnya, silakan langsung pergi ke festivalscope.com atau langsung ke website kami di www.100%manusia.com. Di situ ada seluruh film-film yang bisa ditonton line up-nya untuk festival kita kali ini. Sementara besok kita masih ada acara fringe event lainnya. Besok kita ada 100% exhibition Leka Putra Through the Window. Di acara ini kita bisa melihat karya dari artis Leka Putra yang juga membuat key visual dari festival kita tahun ini. Ini dia festival karyanya Leka Putra, dan kali ini dia berusaha meng-capture atau menangkap bagaimana ekspresi orang-orang ketika berada di dalam rumah, dalam tanda kutip terkungkung, dan bagaimana dia melihat kehidupan di luar sana dari balik jendela. Lalu malamnya kita juga bisa ngobrol bareng di 100% Nyinyir tentang life censorship. Seperti apa sih kehidupan yang disensor, terutama budaya censorship sangat kental diimplikasikan oleh negara kita, tidak hanya dalam hal sensor di film atau di karya seni, tapi juga disensor dalam kehidupan sehari-hari. Jadi besok ada acara itu. Lalu hari Minggu juga kita masih ada acara 100% all you can read, indie publisher, di mana kita akan membahas buku-buku yang bersama Mas Roni dari Margin Kiri, dan juga host penulis cerita anak Rizal Iwan. Di sini kita akan membahas buku-buku yang tanda kutip berani di Indonesia, dan berani dalam arti kata mereka berhasil mengangkat isu-isu yang sensitif, isu-isu yang juga terkadang agak sedikit mungkin disensor juga. Tapi di sini kita ingin mengangkat juga bahwa keberanian dalam berkarya tidak hanya melulu lewat film, tapi bisa juga lewat buku. Dan juga kita ada di hari Minggu itu ada 100% Express to Impress, 100% Express to Impress dengan Inkana featuring Imada, di mana Inka akan menyanyikan lagu-lagu yang sudah kalian book sebelumnya. Kalau nggak salah sudah 2-3 minggu lalu, ya teman-teman? Oke. Itu adalah acara kami di weekend ini. Silakan ikutan, silakan langsung bergabung. Keduanya ada semuanya ada di Instagram, di @100%manusia. Silakan bergabung di sana. Terima kasih banyak buat pendukung setia kami, Movies That Matter, European Union, British Council, Cinemax, Cineverse, InfoScreen, Kincir, Magdalene, Mokino, Display, stickynote.com. Bentar, saya takut salah, jadi mendingan saya buka juga aja daftarnya daripada saya takut salah sebut. Oke. Canadian embassies in Europa, Erasmus Huis, the French Embassy, the Netherlands Embassy, the Swedish Embassy, Institut Français Indonesia, Kekini Ruang Bersama, Kemala Home Living, Klinik Angsa Merah, Amnesty International, Arus Pelangi, Kontras, LBH Jakarta, LBHM, FKWI, Margin Kiri, Selatan Cafe, Texture, Integral Pictures, Amapil, dan Tumbuh Sinema Rakyat. Terima kasih atas semua dukungannya selama ini, sudah mau mendukung 100% Manusia Film Festival. Dan tadi saya juga sudah mengumumkan pemenangnya, nanti akan dihubungi oleh tim admin kami. Terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Saya Melina Putri Wismurti undur diri. Enjoy the festival and let us know your thoughts, your feedbacks in all of our social media. Wear your mask on. Bye bye.
About 30 reporters are on the ground working undercover.
Il fallait aussi que je prenne la fête pour les larmes dans ma tête.
Je m'appelle Martha, j'ai 20 ans. Je viens de Belgique et je suis actrice. What is your dream film project?
My dream is to work in as many countries as possible, in as many languages as possible.
I'm writing on it.
One that I would make.
Working in Spain with Ken Loach doing Land and Freedom was possibly my dream film project.
My dream is to be in a Star Wars film.
To play in a movie where I'm like a female Joker or something, like very dark.
Maybe I want to play a woman one day. That would be beautiful.
To have opportunity to do this job, that's all.
I would like to make an historic movie.
Sci-fi movie. I love science fiction. That is the film that I know will become a success before I make it.
I'm working on it right now, maybe.
All the things I didn't do yet.
It's always the next film. It's always about the next film.
We all love stories.
We all love stories.
We all love stories.
We all love stories.